There are nights when the world goes silent, not because nothing is happening, but because something sacred is approaching. You feel it before you can name it. A stirring in your chest, a trembling between your thoughts. This is not loneliness. It is the sound of the divine knocking on the door of your being. Tonight, something eternal is reaching for you, and if you allow it, you will not sleep empty. The presence is not found, it finds you. We spend so much of our lives chasing what was never meant to be hunted. We look for proof, for signs, for moments that feel supernatural enough to convince us that the divine is real. But Ibn Arabi reminds us that the truth of the presence is not in what we find, it is in what finds us. The divine is not a destination, not a temple you travel to, not a reward you earn through effort or devotion. It is an arrival that happens when everything else becomes still. Most people think they must climb through rituals, through knowledge, through endless striving to reach the divine. They imagine God as something far away, waiting to be discovered through perfection or purity. But the reality is quieter. It is more intimate. The presence has been near all along, closer than your own pulse. You do not move toward it, it moves toward you. The moment you stop trying to control your encounter with it, it steps in. Think of the air you breathe. You never chase it. It fills your lungs, whether you are aware of it or not. That is how the divine moves. You may not see it, but it surrounds you, enters you, sustains you. The problem is not absence. The problem is noise. We live surrounded by constant movement, constant thought, constant hunger for something to happen. In that noise, the presence becomes invisible, not because it hides, but because we do not look with still eyes. Ibn Arabi often spoke of the station of being found. He meant that awakening happens not when you go searching, but when you surrender your search. The ego wants to chase. The soul wants to rest. The ego builds ladders to heaven. The soul opens its hands and says, "Here I am." When you finally stop running toward what you already are part of, the presence recognizes you. It knows the sound of your surrender. Imagine standing in the middle of a desert at night. The stars stretch endlessly above you. You are surrounded by stillness so vast it almost hums. In that silence, you feel a strange comfort, something vast and alive, breathing with you. You didn't summon it, you didn't earn it. It simply appeared when the world went quiet enough for you to feel it. That is the presence. It does not require your effort, only your openness. Many people mistake stillness for laziness or inaction. But stillness is not emptiness, it is listening. To be still is to allow life to speak first. The presence speaks not in words, but through impressions, intuition, moments of unexplainable peace. It comes when the heart stops demanding proof and begins to trust its own sensitivity. You are not meant to force your way into union with the divine. You are meant to allow it to reveal itself in its own time. Every seeker eventually faces this truth. The more you chase the divine, the more it seems to retreat. This is not rejection, it is invitation. The divine hides not to punish you, but to teach you how to stop seeking with your mind and start receiving with your heart. You cannot find what was never lost. You can only awaken to what has always been present. When Ibn Arabi spoke of the unity of being, he meant that there is no there. To reach there is only here. The presence is not up in the clouds, waiting for you to purify yourself. It is in the laughter of a child, in the quiet ache of your longing, in the breath that leaves your body as you read these words. Every moment, seen rightly, is a revelation. Every breath is a meeting place between the human and the divine. If you could stop striving for a single heartbeat, you would feel it, the warmth that hums behind your thoughts. You would realize that all your prayers have always been answered, not through thunder or miracles, but through the ordinary grace of being alive. The presence has never abandoned you. It has only waited for you to slow down enough to notice. Stillness is not passive. It is an act of faith. To be still is to say, I trust that what is meant for me will arrive. It takes courage to stop controlling, to stop reaching, to let go of your spiritual expectations. Yet it is only in this surrender that the presence can finally step forward. It does not shout. It whispers. It does not arrive in chaos. It arrives in quiet recognition. The presence is like sunlight. You do not chase sunlight through the forest. You simply find an open space, and it finds you. You stand where the light can reach, and the light does the rest. That is what it means to be found. Your only task is to become open through silence, through gentleness, through the kind of humility that says, I am ready to be touched by something greater than myself. And when it finds you, it changes everything. You stop asking for proof, because the proof becomes your peace. You stop striving for belonging, because you feel it in every breath. You stop fearing silence, because silence becomes the place where love speaks. You realize that the presence was never something outside of you trying to get in. It was always the core of your being trying to be remembered. Every tear you've shed, every prayer whispered in exhaustion, every quiet moment when you thought no one was listening, all of it was the presence moving toward you, again and again, until you finally turned and saw it waiting. So stop searching, stop demanding signs, be still. Sit in the center of your own being and listen. The presence you've been trying to find is already on its way to you. It knows your name. It knows your hunger. It knows the exact moment when you will be quiet enough to feel it. And when that moment comes, you will understand what Ibn Arabi meant. You do not find the divine finds you. All along, it was never your journey toward God. It was God's journey toward you. 2. God is closer than your own breath. You have searched for God in temples, in the words of scholars, in the pages of sacred books. You have imagined that the divine lives somewhere beyond the clouds, waiting for you to rise high enough, pure enough, worthy enough to meet him. But the truth, Ibn Arabi whispered through his writings, is simpler, softer, and infinitely more intimate. God is not far. He is closer than your own breath. Every time you inhale, you receive what you did not create. You draw in life itself, unseen and unowned. Every time you exhale, you return a part of that life back into the world. Between these two movements, taking in and letting go, exists a rhythm that mirrors the heartbeat of creation. The presence is not something separate from you. It is what keeps you breathing when you forget to notice that you are alive. Think about that. You do not command your breath. You can try to hold it, to control it, to push it away, but eventually, life insists. The body breathes again. That insistence is grace. It is mercy disguised as air. The same force that moves the stars through the sky moves the air through your lungs. You are not apart from it. You are part of it. The divine is not somewhere else. It is the invisible current that passes through you, moment by moment. When Ibn Arabi spoke of unity, he did not mean it as poetry. He meant it as truth. The separation between you and God exists only in perception, not in reality. You think you are small, but the vastness of existence breathes through your being. You think you are forgotten, but you are sustained by a presence that never leaves, even when you stop believing in it. To feel this closeness, you do not need to ascend. You need to awaken. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Feel the rise of your chest, the quiet expansion, the surrender in each exhale. You are being filled, emptied, and filled again. This is prayer without words. Every breath you take is the remembrance of the one who gives it. Every breath is a conversation with the infinite. even when you are unaware of it. Most people think of God as a voice that shouts from heaven, but the divine rarely shouts. It speaks in subtler ways, in the warmth that settles over you in silence, in the sudden calm that arrives when you stop running from yourself. The presence speaks in stillness, in the breath that touches your lips without sound. It does not enter through thunder or lightning, but through the quiet certainty that you are being held. You might ask, if God is that close, why don't I feel Him? The answer is that you are too busy listening to the noise of your thoughts. The mind is a storm that never rests, and within that storm, the whisper of the divine is easily lost. But when you turn your attention inward, when you listen not with your ears but with your heart, you begin to sense the nearness that has always been there. It is not a discovery, it is a remembering. Ibn Arabi often described the divine as the breath of the merciful, the breath by which creation itself was spoken into being. The same breath that brought the universe to life flows through you now. Every human being carries that sacred rhythm. You are not separate from the creative act. You are a continuation of it. Each time you breathe, you echo the beginning of all things. The presence is not an event to wait for. It is an atmosphere to awaken to. It is not something to achieve, but something to uncover, like light already shining beneath layers of dust. When you stop resisting, when you release the tension of control, when you allow the breath to move freely, you begin to feel the divine pulse within you. The miracle was never outside. It was happening every second inside your chest. To understand that God is closer than your breath is to realize that you have never truly been alone. In every lonely room, in every desperate prayer, in every sleepless night, there has been a quiet companion breathing with you. Even when you could not feel love, love was feeling you. Even when you lost faith, faith was holding your next inhale in place. Imagine the tenderness of a presence that lives within your very existence. You cannot escape it, even in disbelief. You cannot silence it, even in anger. You cannot lose it, even in darkness. It waits in the rhythm of your breathing, patient and unjudging, until the moment you turn inward and say, I'm listening. And in that moment, the ordinary becomes sacred. The air becomes prayer. The body becomes a temple. The breath becomes a bridge between the human and the divine. The mystics have always said that to know God, you must first know yourself. This is not pride, it is recognition. You are the instrument through which the presence sings. The same intelligence that keeps galaxies in motion keeps your heart beating. The same energy that births stars sustains your cells. To deny that is to deny the holiness of your own existence. So stop imagining the divine as distant. Stop treating God as a faraway mystery. He is not waiting beyond the sky. He is waiting within your inhale. He is the quiet pulse beneath your ribs. You don't have to reach Him. You only have to notice Him. If you could live each moment aware of your breath, you would live constantly in remembrance. You would see that every inhalation is God giving Himself to you, and every exhalation is your soul returning in gratitude. You would understand that love is not something you pray for, it is something you breathe. And when you finally feel that, when you realize that the same force that sustains the universe sustains you, you will stop searching for God in distant places. You will know, without needing words or proof, that He has always been nearer than you dared to believe, closer than your pulse, closer than your breath. 3. Love is the only language God speaks. There are countless languages on this earth, words that rise and fall in rhythm, words that connect and divide, words that praise and wound. But beyond all of them, there is a language that needs no translation, no sound, no alphabet. It is the first language ever spoken, and it is the only one the divine truly understands: love. Ibn Arabi once wrote that all creation is born from love and sustained by it. To love is to participate in the very act of creation. It is not a human emotion, it is the echo of God's own heartbeat within you. When you love selflessly, when you forgive what others call unforgivable, when you extend kindness without expecting reward, you are speaking the native tongue of the eternal. Love is not a feeling that comes and goes. It is a force that transforms everything it touches. It softens what is hard, heals what is broken, and unites what is divided. It is the only thing that can exist in both joy and pain without contradiction. Love is not a virtue to practice. It is the presence itself moving through you. Most people mistake love for attachment or desire. They think it is found only in affection or romance. But Ibn Arabi saw it differently. He said that the entire universe is a mirror, reflecting the beloved back to himself. Every act of beauty, every spark of compassion, every gentle glance is a reflection of that divine love longing to be known. To love truly is to recognize the face of God in everything you see. This is why love is the greatest teacher. You can study theology for a lifetime, memorize scriptures, debate philosophies, but without love, you have learned nothing of God. Love is the only door through which understanding enters. It teaches through experience, not theory. You don't analyze. Love, you surrender to it. Think about the times you have loved deeply when you forgot yourself in the joy or pain of another. For a moment, you disappeared. The boundaries between you and them blurred. That disappearance is sacred. It is what Ibn Arabi called the annihilation of the self in the beloved. It is not the loss of your identity, but the expansion of it. Love stretches the soul until it becomes vast enough to hold the infinite. In those moments, you understand something words cannot explain. You realize that to love another being is to love the source that created them. It does not matter whether they are kind or cruel, known or unknown, near or far. Each one is a fragment of the divine seeking recognition. When you meet them with love instead of judgment, you are acknowledging the sacred in disguise. This is why love is not selective. It does not choose who deserves it. It flows where it is allowed. When you close your heart in bitterness or pride, love does not punish you. It simply cannot enter. But when you open yourself, even slightly, it rushes in like light through a crack in the wall. That is how God speaks through the moments when your heart softens against your will. Love does not shout. It whispers through forgiveness, patience, and empathy. It speaks when you feed someone who cannot repay you, when you listen without needing to respond, when you see pain and choose not to turn away. These small acts are not just moral gestures, they are translations of the divine message into human form. Every time you choose love over judgment, heaven finds a voice in you. The tragedy of the world is not that people do not believe in God. It is that they have forgotten how to love. Religion without love becomes rigid. Knowledge without love becomes arrogance. Power without love becomes cruelty. But even the smallest act of genuine love carries eternity within it. A single word of kindness, spoken sincerely, can echo through unseen worlds. Love does not need perfection to thrive. It only needs willingness. It asks you to bring your wounds, your doubts, your fears, and let them be healed in the light of compassion. You don't need to be pure to love. It is love that purifies you. You don't need to understand God to love. It is love that reveals Him to you. When you truly love, you stop seeing separation. The stranger becomes your kin. The earth becomes sacred ground, and even your pain becomes a teacher. You begin to see that everything is a vessel carrying a hidden message. I am here. I am you. I am love. Ibn Arabi said that the divine loves to be known, and through you, that knowing becomes possible. When you love, God experiences himself through your heart. Your compassion becomes his expression. Your forgiveness becomes his reflection. That is why love feels so vast, because it is not yours alone. It is God moving through you, remembering himself in form. To love in this way requires courage. It means opening your heart even when the world breaks it. It means choosing tenderness when anger feels safer. But this is where transformation happens. Every wound you offer to love becomes a doorway through which grace enters. Every time you refuse to harden, you become more transparent to the light that made you. When you live in love, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Life starts to feel guided. The right people appear, the right words come, the right moments unfold. This is not coincidence. It is the language of love, arranging your steps. When your heart aligns with love, you are never off the path, even when you stumble. So listen not with your ears, but with your soul. The divine is always speaking, but not in the languages of logic or law. It speaks in affection, in compassion, in the quiet pull toward goodness. To understand that voice, you must love not just others, but yourself, the world, and even your imperfections. Because in the end, there is no other way to meet the divine. The intellect can bring you to the gate, but only love can open it. The mind can describe God, but only love can know him. And when you finally surrender to that truth, when you let love become your breath, your eyes, your heartbeat, you will realize that you were never separate, never unworthy, never alone. For love has been speaking to you all along. You simply had to remember the language. 4. The dark night is a sacred invitation. There will come a night when everything feels silent, when the prayers that once lifted your soul fall flat in your mouth, and even your own heart seems to hide from you. That night will feel endless. You will wonder where the presence has gone, why heaven no longer answers, why your spirit feels hollow. You will think you have been abandoned, but Ibn Arabi would tell you, this is not abandonment. This is invitation. The dark night is not a punishment, it is a sacred calling. The path to the divine is not a steady climb of light, it is a rhythm of illumination and obscurity. The light reveals what you are, the dark reveals who God is. When everything around you is stripped away, when the voices that once guided you go quiet, something deeper begins to awaken. Silence is not absence. It is the space where the infinite begins to speak in a language too vast for sound. We live in a world obsessed with clarity. We want certainty, direction, answers that sparkle in daylight. But the divine often works in shadows, not because he enjoys hiding, but because there are truths that can only be seen when the light goes out. A seed must break in the darkness of soil before it can bloom in the sun. The same law governs the soul. Your confusion, your loss, your sleeplessness, they are not failures. They are signs that something within you is germinating. Ibn Arabi wrote that, "The darkness is the veil of light." This means that what feels like loss is often preparation. The night conceals only what your eyes are not yet ready to behold. You think you are being left behind, but in reality, you are being made ready for a greater vision. The presence withdraws so that you can learn to see without your senses, to trust without proof, to love without condition. The dark night strips you of false certainty. It dismantles the self you built on comfort, control, and identity. It takes from you the illusions you thought were strength, so that you can finally meet your weakness and discover that weakness is where grace enters. When you have nothing left to hold, you finally open your hands. When every light has gone out, you discover that you were glowing all along. Think of the moon. It does not shine with its own light, it reflects the sun. Yet when the earth casts its shadow, the moon disappears. We call it an eclipse, a moment of darkness. But even then, the The moon has not lost its purpose. It is simply waiting. The dark night of the soul is your eclipse. It is the space between radiance and revelation, a pause in which your spirit adjusts its eyes to see the unseen. During this night, do not run. Do not try to light your own fire too quickly. Sit in the dark, let it teach you. You will feel discomfort. It will whisper that you are lost, that your faith is failing. But if you stay, if you breathe, something astonishing will happen. You will begin to sense a subtler warmth, a quiet awareness that does not depend on emotion or sight. That stillness is the presence. It was never gone. It was only asking you to listen differently. There are dimensions of the divine that can only be known through emptiness. Light can fill only what is hollow. That is why the night empties you. It clears the space that distraction once occupied. You cannot carry both noise and revelation in the same vessel. So the dark night takes your noise, your confidence, even your comfort, and replaces them with stillness. That stillness feels like nothingness, but it is actually the threshold of everything. Every mystic, every saint, every seeker has walked through this valley. It is the place where prayer stops being words and becomes being. It is where belief is tested and transformed into knowing. It is where you realize that faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the courage to keep breathing in the dark. The dark night humbles you. It makes you realize that your strength cannot carry you to God. Only surrender can. You learn that the presence is not a feeling to chase, but a truth that remains whether you feel it or not. You learn that love is not measured by sweetness, but by endurance. The ability to stay open even when every door seems closed. When you emerge from this night, and you will not be the same. The light that returns will not just shine on you, it will shine from within you. You will no longer need external signs to believe. You will carry the presence as certainty, not evidence. You will understand that absence was only another form of guidance, that the silence was not rejection, but refinement. In every season of darkness, remember this: God has not left you. He is closer than ever, but He hides Himself so that you may learn to seek without sight. The emptiness you feel is sacred space. He is building within you a heart vast enough to hold eternity. So when the night comes, do not fear it. Do not beg it to pass too quickly. Let it do its holy work. Let it empty you until only what is real remains. The dawn will come, but it will not come from the horizon. It will rise from within you. And when it does, you will see that the night was never the enemy. It was the teacher. The darkness was never against you. It was the presence itself, disguised, waiting for you to realize that even in your emptiness, you were never alone. 5. The heart is the throne of the divine. You have spent so much of your life searching for God in distant places, in temples, scriptures, sacred mountains, and whispered prayers carried by the wind. But Ibn Arabi reminds us that the divine does not dwell in a faraway heaven or an unreachable light. The real sanctuary of God is not above the stars or beyond the clouds. It is within you. The heart, humble, fragile, often wounded, is the throne of the divine. The world teaches you to look outward for meaning, to measure your worth by what you achieve, to seek approval, belonging, and power in places that never last. But when everything you chase finally fades, something deep within begins to stir. That stirring is not emptiness. It is the invitation to return home to the center of your own being, where the presence waits quietly, patiently, like a light that never went out. The heart is not just a vessel for emotion. It is the meeting point between the human and the divine. Every longing you have ever felt, every ache for love, for peace, for truth, is not random. It is the echo of God calling you back to your own depths. Ibn Arabi said that the heart is the mirror of the real. When you polish it through remembrance, silence, and compassion, the reflection becomes clear. What you see shining there is not separate from the Creator. But the heart does not reveal easily. It hides beneath layers of fear, pride, and distraction. You cannot enter it through logic or ambition. You enter by surrender, by letting go of the false identities that keep you small. You must stop being who you think you are, to remember who you have always been. The ego seeks to be special. The heart seeks only to be true. And truth does not shout. It whispers. When you turn inward long enough, the noise of the world begins to fade. In its place comes a stillness that feels both empty and full at once. That stillness is the presence. It doesn't need your words. It listens before you speak. It doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for honesty. The heart cannot be filled with the divine until it is emptied of illusion. Every heartbreak, every loss, every disappointment is not destruction, it is purification. The cracks in your heart are not weaknesses, they are openings through which light can enter. To live from the heart is to live from the throne. It means letting love, not fear, guide your actions. It means forgiving even when the mind insists on punishment. It means seeing beauty where others see brokenness. This way of living is not soft, it is the highest form of strength. For love that flows from the heart does not depend on being understood or repaid. It gives because that is its nature. It is the very nature of the divine flowing through you. When you begin to dwell in your heart, you start to see differently. The same world that once looked ordinary becomes sacred. The face of a stranger becomes holy. The smallest act of kindness feels like worship. The air around you hums with quiet aliveness because you are finally seeing through the eyes of the heart. You are seeing as God sees. You are no longer just a person moving through the world. You are the world through which God is moving. And this is what Ibn Arabi meant when he said that the heart is the throne. God reigns not through power, but through intimacy. He rules not from afar, but from within the secret chamber of your being. When you open your heart to love, to mercy, to humility, you are opening the gates of that inner kingdom. The divine does not demand grand gestures, only sincerity. When the heart is sincere, every breath becomes worship, every act becomes prayer. Yet this path is not easy. The heart is tender, and it will break again and again. But every breaking is sacred. Every time your heart shatters under the weight of love or grief, it expands. The throne grows wider. The more you hurt and still choose to love, the more space you create for the infinite to dwell. You cannot contain God in perfection. You can only contain Him in surrender. The greatest illusion is to think that God is somewhere else. People travel oceans, seek teachers, chase enlightenment, yet the treasure lies hidden within. The path to the divine is only a few inches long, the distance from the head to the heart. But that journey is the hardest one you will ever take, because it requires you to stop thinking about God and start feeling Him. It requires you to descend from knowing to being. Close your eyes for a moment and listen not to the noise outside, but to the pulse within. That steady rhythm that has never ceased, not even when you forgot gratitude or drowned in doubt. That rhythm is the reminder. It says, I am here. You are being sustained, moment by moment, by a love that refuses to abandon you. The heart beats not just to keep you alive, but to remind you that life itself dwells within you. So guard your heart, not by building walls around it, but by keeping it open enough for love to reign. Let compassion be your crown. Let humility be your robe. Let presence be your offering. For when you live from the heart, you are no longer simply a seeker. You become a throne upon which the divine rests. And then, one quiet morning, or one sleepless night, you will realize the greatest secret of all. You were never searching for God. You were searching for the doorway within yourself, where He has been waiting all along. The heart was never empty. It was always full of the presence that gives meaning to everything. This is the journey Ibn Arabi spoke of, not from earth to heaven, but from mind to heart, from seeking to surrender, from distance to intimacy. For the throne of God is not built of gold or fire. It is made of tenderness, and it beats quietly, faithfully, within your chest. 6. Every meeting is a mirror of the eternal. Every face you see, every voice you hear, every encounter, brief or lifelong, carries something of the divine. Nothing in this world happens by accident. Every meeting is a mirror, and every mirror reflects a fragment of the eternal. Ibn Arabi taught that the entire universe is a theater of divine manifestation, a place where God meets Himself in 1,000 different forms. You may think you are looking at another person, but in truth, you are looking at a reflection of the one who made you both. We are mirrors held up to one another. Some mirrors are clear, shining back love, kindness, and truth. Others are cracked, fogged, distorted, yet even they reveal something sacred if you know how to look. When you encounter kindness, it awakens the part of you that is kind. When you encounter cruelty, it reveals the part of you that must learn forgiveness. In every reflection, the Eternal invites you to recognize yourself more deeply. This is why no meeting is ordinary. The stranger on the street, the friend who stays, the enemy who wounds you, each one is a messenger carrying a lesson that no one else could deliver. Sometimes the message is joy, sometimes pain, but always it is growth. The presence uses these human encounters as instruments of awakening. What you admire in others calls you toward your potential. What you dislike in them points to what you have not yet healed within yourself. Ibn Arabi once wrote that God is the mirror in which you see yourself, and you are His mirror in which He sees His names. That means every soul you meet gives God a new reflection of Himself through your eyes. You are both witness and participant in this divine exchange. The universe is not separate from the Beloved. It is His continuous self-disclosure. Each meeting, each relationship, each conflict is a conversation between aspects of the same eternal being. When you begin to live with this awareness, the way you see people changes. You stop dividing the world into friend and foe, good and bad, sacred and profane. You start to see that everything, even the uncomfortable, even the painful, is part of the divine dialogue unfolding before you. Every person you meet gives you an opportunity to practice one of the divine qualities: patience, mercy, strength, humility, compassion. Without these mirrors, you could never know how deeply the presence moves within you. Think about the times when someone's presence transformed you. Maybe it was a teacher who awakened your understanding, a friend who showed you unconditional love, or even a stranger whose kindness softened your day. Those encounters were not coincidences. They were appointments written in the fabric of time. And just as others have been mirrors for you, you have been a mirror for them. Sometimes your light illuminated someone else's darkness without you ever knowing it. Sometimes your silence allowed another to hear their own truth. But not all mirrors are easy to face. Some people reflect parts of you that you would rather not see: your impatience, your pride, your fear. These are the mirrors that challenge you the most, yet they are also the most valuable. They show you where your work remains unfinished. They teach you that even the people who wound you are part of your refinement. They are polishing your mirror so that the reflection becomes clearer. When you begin to understand this, forgiveness becomes natural. You stop seeing others as the cause of your pain and start seeing them as participants in your unfolding. The person who hurt you is not outside the story of your awakening. They are written into it. Through them, The divine tests your ability to love beyond ego, to extend grace where resentment once lived. This is the sacred art of seeing God in everyone, not as an idea, but as a living practice. Ibn Arabi's insight was radical because it dissolves separation. He saw every form as a face of the beloved, every interaction as a mirror through which God looks at himself. To truly see others in this way is to walk through life in constant worship. The marketplace becomes a temple, conversation becomes prayer, and love becomes recognition. You stop searching for God in distant heavens because you begin to see Him shining through the eyes of every soul you meet. Imagine walking through your day with this awareness. You greet a stranger and see the spark of the infinite behind their eyes. You argue with someone, but instead of clinging to anger, you ask, "What part of me is being revealed here?" You offer help to another and realize you are serving yourself in a different form. Suddenly, life feels interconnected, meaningful, alive. The world no longer feels random or cruel. It feels orchestrated by something vast and loving. The mystics say that when you finally see through the illusion of separateness, you begin to understand love as recognition. To love someone is to recognize the divine in them, and in doing so, to recognize it in yourself. This is why love is so powerful. It tears down the illusion that we are different, divided, alone. Every act of love, no matter how small, is an echo of the eternal recognizing itself. The more you polish your inner mirror, the more clearly you perceive this truth. Judgment fades, compassion grows. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" You begin to live not as a victim of events, but as a participant in divine choreography. Every encounter, every relationship, every coincidence becomes a verse in the poetry of your awakening. So the next time you meet someone, anyone, pause for a moment. Look beyond the surface of personality, beyond appearance, beyond behavior. Ask quietly, "What reflection of the divine is standing before me right now?" You may not always understand the answer, but your heart will feel it. That feeling, that quiet recognition is truth. And when you start to see life this way, you will realize something extraordinary. You have never met anyone who was not, in some way, a messenger of God. Every meeting has been a mirror, every relationship a revelation. Even your solitude is a dialogue between you and the infinite. For the eternal hides in plain sight, in faces, in moments, in mirrors, waiting for the day you finally recognize that what you see in others is not separate from what lives within you. In the end, there is only one face, one light, one presence, looking back from 1,000 reflections. And that is the true vision of the heart. 7. Surrender is the doorway to union. There comes a point on every seeker's path where effort must give way to surrender. You pray, you study, you strive, and still there is a silence you cannot fill, a distance you cannot cross. That is not failure. That is the threshold. It is the moment when your will has taken you as far as it can go, and the only step left is not upward, but inward. Ibn Arabi wrote that the divine does not enter where the will resists. The door to union is not built from striving, but from yielding. To surrender is not to give up, it is to give over. It is to stop trying to contain the infinite within your control, and to let the infinite contain you. The ego fights this truth. It wants to conquer enlightenment, to achieve awakening like a trophy, to say, "I have found God." But God is not an achievement. The presence is not a mountain you climb. It is an ocean you fall into. The one who surrenders does not reach the shore. They dissolve into the water itself. That is union. To surrender is to finally let yourself be carried by a current, wiser than your plans, kinder than your fears, and larger than your understanding. You may think surrender is weakness, but it is the highest form of strength. It takes courage to stop fighting the current, to stop insisting that you know the way. It takes humility to say, I trust what I cannot see. Every act of true surrender is an act of faith, a declaration that you believe the universe is not against you, but unfolding through you. When you stop controlling every outcome, you discover something astonishing. Life begins to move with grace. What once felt heavy becomes light. What once felt uncertain becomes sacred. Ibn Arabi saw surrender not as defeat, but as transformation. When the self bows before the real, it does not vanish, it becomes transparent. The light of the divine begins to shine through your being. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions all become instruments of something greater. The you that struggles to be enough slowly fades, and in its place arises the awareness that you were never separate from the source to begin with. You do not lose yourself in surrender. You find the part of yourself that was eternal all along. Think of a seed buried in the earth. If it clings to its form, it will rot. But if it lets itself break open, if it yields to the darkness pressing around it, something miraculous happens. Life bursts forth. Surrender is that breaking open. It feels like dying because, in a way, it is. The false self, the small self that lives in fear and control, must dissolve so that the true self can emerge. You cannot be both the seed and the flower. There will be times when surrender feels impossible. The mind will rebel, demanding answers, clinging to plans, terrified of letting go. In those moments, remember this: surrender does not mean passivity. It does not mean you stop moving, or caring, or choosing. It means you act without attachment to outcome. You move as though guided, not driven. You trust that whatever unfolds, even if painful, carries wisdom within it. You stop asking life to fit your will and begin asking your will to fit life. When you truly surrender, something remarkable happens. Peace enters. Not the fragile peace that depends on things going your way, but a peace that exists regardless. You realize that you no longer need to force doors open or chase what runs from you. What is meant for you will find you, because what finds you in surrender is not chance, it is grace. The mystics often describe surrender as falling in love. To love is to give yourself without guarantee. It is to trust the unseen, to open your heart even when you might be hurt. The same is true with the divine. You cannot love God from a distance, with walls built out of logic and fear. You must step forward, unguarded, and allow yourself to be undone. Love demands that you risk losing everything you are, and yet, in that loss, you gain everything that matters. Ibn Arabi said, "My heart has become capable of every form." This is the fruit of surrender, the expansion of the heart until it can hold all of existence. You stop resisting what is and start embracing what comes. Joy and sorrow, light and dark, gain and loss all become expressions of the same eternal rhythm. When you surrender, the boundaries between what you love and what you fear begin to blur. You start to see the hand of the beloved in both. And then, slowly, you realize something profound. Surrender was never about giving up your power. It was about discovering where true power resides. It was never about losing yourself, but about losing the illusion that you were ever separate. In surrender, you stop being the one who seeks God and become the one through whom God seeks himself. The divine cannot enter a heart full of struggle, but it rushes into a heart that yields. When you stop clinging, you make space for grace. When you release control, the presence takes its rightful place upon the throne of your being. You no longer move against life, you move with it. You no longer pray for what you want, you pray to want what is already given. Surrender is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your return. It is the moment when you finally stop walking in circles and realize you were always home. The presence does not need you to strive harder. It needs you to open wider. The current you feared will not drown you. It will carry you. The night you resisted will not destroy you. It will transform you. And in the stillness that follows surrender, something extraordinary happens. The seeker disappears, and only the sought remains. The wave falls back into the ocean. The drop realizes it was water all along. The separation dissolves, and what remains is the quiet truth that has been waiting behind every prayer, every breath, every longing. There was never a you searching for God. There was only God remembering Himself through you. And now, as you reach the end of this reflection, pause for a moment, breathe, feel the weight of silence around you. Notice how still everything has become, not empty, but full of something you can't quite name, yet it feels familiar, like a memory from before time began. That stillness is not just peace, it is presence. It has been here all along, quietly waiting beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the ache of your questions, beneath your searching. You have not been walking toward the divine. You have been walking within it. Every longing was a call from what already lived inside you. Every heartbreak was a doorway. Every night of silence was an invitation to listen deeper. And now, as the mind begins to quiet, you begin to see what was always true. The presence never left. It was breathing you, guiding you, carrying you all this time. You were never far away. You were never forgotten. The divine does not wait beyond the stars. It lives within the pulse beneath your ribs. You are not a visitor in this world. You are the world made conscious, the breath of the eternal, clothed in human form. And when you remember that, even for a heartbeat, something changes forever. The distance between heaven and earth disappears. The seeker and the sought become one. So tonight, do not ask for light from the sky. Feel it awakening in your chest. Do not ask for signs. You are the sign. Do not wait for God to come closer. He already dwells in the silence between your breaths. Let the presence fill you. Let it soften what is hardened, heal what is broken, calm what is feared. Let it remind you that you are not here to chase, meaning you are here to reveal it. Every breath you take is a continuation of that revelation. Every act of love, every moment of awareness, every surrender is God meeting Himself through you. And as you lie in the quiet of this night, know this truth deeply. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You cannot be alone. The presence is near. It always has been. So close your eyes now. Let go of the day. Let the divine presence fill the space inside you where worry once lived. Let it settle like a soft fire in your chest. And when you drift into sleep, may you feel it gentle, alive, unshakable. The quiet knowing that has no end. You won't sleep empty tonight.